Hello everybody, my name is Brittany, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about this Monstera adansonii. It has obviously seen better days, and I want to look at what to do with a plant when it looks like it's having a hard time. And I want to talk about starting over and what are some things that we can do to bring plants back to life. So we're going to talk about him today, a couple other plants that are in my collection. If this is something that you have dealt with before or you are currently dealing with, stick around and let's talk about starting over with plants. So this Monstera adansonii, I had gotten some months back, and it was delivered to me in the dead of winter here in Wyoming. And I'll show a video of what it looked like when I got it. It looked fairly decent. And then a couple of weeks after I got it, I had lost almost all of the leaves. And I came to realize that it was cold damage that this plant had suffered. So as you can see now, I have two little baby plants, or baby leaves. Every single leaf that I had on this plant had this browning, much more severe than this one. This is the newest leaf, and it was the first leaf that didn't have any browning on this little stalk. And then this is the leaf that came out here this past week or so. And it is perfect and huge and beautiful. As you can see, it does have a new leaf that's trying to creep out there. And I'm just gonna leave it alone. I've learned from past experiences to just let these guys do their thing. If you do want to help that leaf pop out, the best thing that you can do is give it a little extra moisture, humidity, maybe a warm rag around where the leaf area is, just to encourage that leaf to pop out. But the last thing that you want to do is get your finger in there and pop that out because of the risk of breakage. So I'm just gonna leave him be. And I really think that even though this is a very sad looking little plant, that there's a lot of potential here. And as you've seen in my past content, we are trying to start a lot of plants on moss poles. So I thought, after looking at this huge, beautiful leaf, that this might be the perfect plant to start on a moss pole. So that's what I'm gonna do today. We're gonna look at that, put him on a moss pole, and then we are also going to look at a couple of plants that I've recently repotted. I think that you're gonna think they're really cute. It turned out really cute. And then the last thing I wanna do is give you an update, get this here, on my propagation experiments. So a couple weeks ago, we had started potting up some of my propagations. One was in a water and soil mixture, and the other was in straight soil. So I want to update you on what is going on with those. So that is our video for today. The first thing I'm going to do is start looking at this guy, and I'm going to put this on a moss pole and kind of evaluate what that looks like. So let me do that, and then we'll talk it out a little bit here. Okay, so I just sped through that really quick because you guys have seen me make moss poles a couple of times. So this is a little bit different just because it is such a minimal plant and we don't want to over expect or overdo it with this guy. So here's how this turned out. I did a really short moss pole to start because the aerial roots are only just down here. So I can extend this really easily once it gets bigger. I've noticed that the smaller you go for moss poles, especially right when they're acclimating you can keep them wet easier. And so I'm gonna trim this little guy off, and I'm gonna start really small, give this a lot of really good light, and try and keep the pole as moist as possible so that we can get some of these aerial roots growing into this moss. So starting over, I also got, these were separate plants. So I have this little baby that, will it fit in here? I might just put into one of these little baby pots just in the meantime to let it relax and get some time to grow. I use that really chunky potting mix so that it doesn't get overly moist while in there, and we'll see what happens. I'm excited. I've seen some really amazing Monstera adansonii on the internet grown on moss poles. There we go. So easy, just in that tiny little pot there. And we'll just kind of keep track on what's going on with this guy. I'm curious to see what this new leaf will look like. It definitely does not look like it's going to be as big as this last one, but once the moss roots, or the moss roots start growing into the moss, I do think that we're going to start upsizing quickly. So we'll just kind of keep tabs on this. If you have questions about moss poles, I do have a couple other videos in my playlist that give a more broken down explanation of how you make them and the benefit of them. So watch that, come back, keep tabs on this little guy. So I'm gonna go ahead and move this to the area where I have all my other moss poles and move on. Okay, so the other couple things I wanted to talk about today while I'm getting some things done is these propagations that we had started potting up a couple weeks ago. The roots on these were really well established, and we said it was time to put them into some potting mix. So the first one we kept in the water that it was previously in. You can see that's water. And then said we were gonna start adding soil, 1 scoop per week until it was fully soil. So I have added 2 scoops. I'm gonna go ahead and add another here today. And we are getting pretty dense here with the soil, but it is still very liquidy. So everything looks great. I did also add a little satin pothos propagation that I had in there, and it's even gotten a new leaf, and it's getting another new leaf since it went into this mixture, and everything else seems to be doing really nicely. So no complaints on this one 3 weeks in. The other one we had just potted straight into soil, the propagations, and then I said I was gonna try and keep it kind of damp so that it didn't shock the roots. And that plant is in timeout right now, and I'll show you why. So I am treating that plant. The fungus gnats came and got him, and I think it was because of the moisture, or I'm sure it was because of the moisture. So I'm treating it and isolating it and giving it a little time out. In general, the leaves look okay, but I'm curious to see what happens after this little pest issue. I've really been keeping tabs on the rest of my plants, and nothing else seems to have attracted the gnats. So I'm hoping this isolation will keep them at bay. And we will check in another week on the propagations. So far, I'm gonna go ahead and say that the water adding the soil has been more successful so far. And we had hypothesized that. So we're just gonna keep up with it and see how it goes. But as of right now, I think that we were on the right track. So a little update on that for you. And then the last thing that I did want to talk about, since we're talking about starting over, we started over on that sad little Adansonii. We started over by potting up some propagations. I just wanted to show you a couple repots that I did this week. I had 2 Tradescantia that had come at the same time in the mail as this Adansonii, and they were both cold damaged and sad as well. So I did get a little Nanook that looked really, really sad. And then I did get a Zebrina that I got for free because of some shipping issues. And I don't know if you guys have a Zebrina, but those things are prolific growers. I mean, I'll show you some before and after pictures of where I'm at with this plant just over the last few months, but it has grown like crazy. And so I decided I want to pot the 2 Tradescantia into one pot and put it in a place that gets a lot of sun. So let me show you that really quick, and then we'll talk about what that kind of looks like here. Okay, so as you can see, I did add this Sabrina, which is growing beautifully, and this Nanook into the same pot. And I put it on this little windowsill next to, here it is, this satin pothos. And I put it on this little scale by these huge windows, and I'm hoping it gets a lot of light. And I just think that the little scale is so cute. So these guys are gonna hang out here and grow big and strong, I hope. All right, so I think that is it for today. Thank you for following along on this sad little plant. And I know that sometimes plants just don't work out and it's sad, but I think one of the most fulfilling things about being a plant parent is the opportunity to take something that seems like it's not going to make it and then work really hard to bring it back. So I'm hoping that this Adansonii thrives on this moss pole over the next few months as spring comes, and we'll keep tabs on it along with my other moss pole plants. And check back next week. I'm going to do an update on the propagations, so I'll give you a little update on the fungus gnats and if we got rid of those. And if you have any questions or any advice for me or people in the comments, please leave a comment. And if you liked this video and like learning together as a plant community, please subscribe to my channel. And I hope that I'll see you guys next week.